Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Optics in Action, where we spotlight leaders with vision and clarity. And today I'm honored and excited to have Ryan Livingston. Ryan is a vice president at HLR. They are an environmental engineering surveying company. He's going to tell us a little bit more about that. We've known each other for several years. And Ryan, I'm honored and humbled to have you as a guest on the show today.
Ryan, thank you very much. It's a pleasure being on. Obviously, we've had some history. You've worked with our company for a couple of years now. So I feel very privileged to be on the show with you today.
Awesome. The first thing I always like to ask my guests is, why do you do what you do? So you're in engineering and environmental and surveying. Like, why do you do what you do? Why are you passionate about this?
Sure. No, it's a great question. And it's something that's changed a bit and evolved over time. The easy answer is from a very young age to begin with. I've enjoyed construction, building things, how things get put together. My interest in dams, specifically the Hoover Dam, led me into the path of civil engineering. When I figured out what that was, what engineers do in the background in order to what they do to make things work, I just instantly fell in love with it, I'll say.
Yeah.
And over time, working at HLR, we started out as a much smaller company back in 1960 from a bunch of ex-IDOT employees. And they worked for the Bureau of Local Roads, specializing working with local agencies. So cities, municipalities, counties. And really that's what our core is today, still serving those same local agencies. So over time, as my career has developed and I've had my hands in a bunch of different civil engineering projects, which expanded to some things that are adjacent, like you mentioned, environmental engineering, survey. I've really just found interest in how all these different components work together to make massive or small infrastructure improvements for those local agencies on the small scale and big scale. And I really enjoy being part of a project on early stages, helping local agencies come up with solutions to problems, developing those problems, and then I work very closely with our construction division, so then I get to see them come to life. So that's really where it is for me, that final stage where you see everything come together and get executed out on the site.
I love that evolution of what you just described. And I think it's interesting. I think the next generation, right? My children growing up on Minecraft and Roblox or whatever, where they're building all these things in the virtual world. That last piece that you put in there, the actual construction and seeing a road, a bridge, a structure come together in a physical space, making that connection. What are some of the challenges or opportunities in encouraging young people to go into engineering, to go into some of these fields when looking at these things? It's not just virtual, right? Like, we're building real infrastructure that people use every day. How do you see that evolving over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, technology is closely related to what we do in every sense of the way. A design engineer sitting in an office is using technology that I didn't even use when I was coming up. And then the generation before me, you could say the same. The generation before me was trained by hand in huge rooms, hand drawing everything. And to now, we're really getting into the depth of 3D modeling during design. And most people think of that as it relates to similar to architecture with buildings, but that's really getting pulled into our realm right now, especially with the state agencies, where we're doing all the construction of bridges, even just roads in 3D models, defining every single layer. So the technological advancement with just that alone has increased significantly. And now we're stepping into kind of the next realm where we're using those 3D models out on site to build those elements. So it's a model that's getting inserted into the construction equipment using GPS, programmable level control, to actually build those elements. It's getting less out of the physical hands of an operator and more in that virtual space, but it still requires that human element. Somebody's still manipulating that data and creating that model in order to build something.
Yeah. And I think even recently, the Maryland, I guess that we didn't talk about this before, but the Maryland bridge that collapsed recently, the infrastructure in the United States, as we look at what was built historically and the legacy of what we have today, there's some redevelopment that needs to go on, not just because of accidents and things like that, but there's redevelopment and there's infrastructure problems and challenges that are happening. Are you seeing some of that? Or I've read about some of it in the news. I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, it's constant. That topic, I feel like, first started coming up when I was finishing up my college career. And the thing that really pointed out to me was job security. I got job
Yeah.
security for the rest of my life. It started with the highway system, and that was developed now 60 years ago, plus closer to 70 years ago now, with a 50-year design life. So you can expect that most of the roads are going to be replaced in that time frame. The same you can really point to our bridges and even our infrastructure. Most recently, the water infrastructure, distribution system, and treatments. That's kind of aging out. And then the materials we're using. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the lead that was
Water. Yeah.
installed. Now we're going back through and getting most of that addressed through several different funding mechanisms. But now there's grant funds available through the EPA to help with that burden, because it is a very large and costly endeavor. And
So it sounds like this would be a great career opportunity for young folks who are looking to go into something that will have some job security in the future. It's hard, I think, today to know where job security will be. 5 years ago, we were told the future belongs to those who will know how to code, the rest will be left behind. And now, a few weeks ago, we're told by the CEO of NVIDIA, don't teach your children to code. That's a waste of time. AI is going to do it for us. I don't know if it's true or not, but the uncertainty of going through college, universities, trying to figure out, what do I want for a young person today? What do I want to do for a career? There's some real job security, it sounds like, in infrastructure and engineering around some of that.
yeah, I would say so. The nature of the job and what we do is going to change over time. There's no way to compete with that. But the industry still will be there. We still, maybe eventually when we get away from roads and we're driving around flying cars, it's going to be a different story. But we all need clean water. We all need to handle the water on construction sites or any development, any improvement to designate where it goes. Uh, we all live in a civilization, and all this stuff is needed for a civilization.
Yeah, yeah. So as you think about some of those things, what do you see as some of the infrastructure changes that may be happening in the future? We have a lot more electric cars on the road today. We're talking about electric trucks and the weight of the batteries and some of these things. Is there a lot of conversation today about some of the, not just replacement or repairing of things, but how does infrastructure look different in the future maybe than it does today?
I think that's a good question. One of the first things I think it's going to happen that I think we all see coming already is smart infrastructure. Everything's headed that direction, starting with cell phone signals and 5G, implementing that into basically every single street light along the road, and then building that into the roads themselves. So really, it's interconnectivity. It's everything is going to be connected before long, and that ties in with the electrical vehicles. There's various test sites. I think in Dallas, outside Dallas Airport's one of them, but there's been a few of them where it's on the go charging in the pavement while they're driving. But the other caveat to that is our grid and electrical system, and that's a whole nother conversation in of itself.
I imagine. I think everything around the sort of changes in culture and society and technology, all of those things are happening at one time. And as we look at clean energy, but do we have enough electricity produced today to do these things? I recently read that I think Amazon is building a data center right next to a nuclear power plant. People haven't been talking a lot about nuclear power, but all of a sudden Amazon's building next door to a nuclear power plant. It's like the amount of electrical consumption for the computing power and for electric vehicles and all these things. That seems like that's a pretty significant area for the future as well.
Yeah, no, I had not heard that. There has been a lot of talk about nuclear power making a comeback, and that's not new. That's been around for quite a while. It's just repurposing. That tends to happen as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you think about people and process, so I talk a lot about people and process. Good people without processes get frustrated. Good processes without people are just wasted. Like, how do you take your organization? You've got these different areas, and you walked us through those steps. How do you integrate the people and processes? You've got multiple offices now, and a lot of different things going on. As the organization has grown, how are you aligning people and process in your organization to leverage that in the best way?
Sure. As you can imagine, being in the engineering realm, we have a lot of processes and policies and procedures that are built into what we do every day. A lot of what we do is based off of existing design guidelines and existing criteria and schedules that have been developed before us. We work primarily with government agencies.
A lot of regulation there too.
Yes, in and of itself, a lot of regulation, a lot of policies you have to follow. So we have to work within those policies. So we definitely see the value in trying to connect our people, our procedures, our policies, as processes as much as possible. Everybody saw that there was a struggle with hiring experienced people because of the 2000 crash that happened. That specifically impacted our world because a lot of the development type work, site development, went away for a while. And a lot of people shifted that to be more in the public agency type work that we do. But we're missing in 2012, 2010 plus, we were still missing those experienced level employees. So we decided, made a commitment that we were going to focus on hiring quality entry level staff and spend time and energy training them, bringing them up so then they could become those mid-level experienced engineers that we wanted. And everybody knows there's a certain percentage that are going to move on, find a better place or better fit for them. We really believe the core of our company values that our employees is what makes us HLR and really what embodies our culture. So we do focus a lot of time and energy on them.
Yeah.
And
I think those three things in your corporate tagline, the work hard, have fun, and give back. I think if I remember correctly, right? Work hard, have fun, give back. That when I meet some of the younger folks in your organization, there's definitely a ton of energy looking at how do we integrate technology? How do we push this organization forward and those type of things? And I think it's clear that you've been investing in the development of those people, which I think is critical to your organization.
yeah, no, absolutely. And it's important not to only give them a voice and give them a say, but also to actually execute on that, follow through, or else it's worse than ever having the conversation to begin with. So we've gone, I think, an extra step in quite a few areas of our business. We have included invites across the company to all levels of experience, from entry level up to senior management, to participate in our strategic planning every year. At those meetings, we really sit down and talk as a company and make the decisions on what is important to us and what our focus is for the coming year. And we've had great participation from some of the less experienced individuals who come up with ideas that, to be honest, never would come to mind if it was just me or some of our other leadership sitting in that room.
Yeah.
So it's been very much appreciated.
Yeah, I remember the first strategic planning session that I came to with you all. There were a few people who were pretty young in the organization, and I don't think that's very common in a lot of organizations that of your size and growth, that bringing in the next generation, bringing in some representatives of the next generation, engaging them in that participation, I think it was really cool. And I hope that they can see that, because it doesn't happen everywhere. I think the culture that you're building there is really important. How do you see that the culture of your organization differentiating you or helping to continue to be the foundation that you can grow from in the future?
Sure. So you mentioned our tagline, work hard, have fun, give back. It sounds silly. Not everybody believes it. But I think, as you said, once you get to know us, there really is some truth to that. That really does embody how we function as a company, where our values are. We do work hard for our clients. We want to produce the best product. We want to be known. We want to have the reputation of putting a good quality product out there. We do have fun doing it. We do lots of different team building activities, lots of different fun things around the office, potlucks, stuff like that. We've had different teams over the years, softball teams, bowling, and then give back. Like I said, we work very closely with the local agencies in our community. We think it's really important to give back to those communities that have provided us with the opportunity to do work in them. So we do a lot of different charity activities as a company, as individuals, but we support that as endeavor. I think as long as we stick true to that, I think that's going to carry us into the future.
Yeah, I think so as well. So listen, if people are interested in learning more about HLR, learning more about, if we have some younger folks listening who are thinking about careers, if they're thinking about where can I learn about engineering and environmental engineering and surveying and things like that, how do they get in touch with you, or how do they learn more?
Sure. You can go to our website, www.hlrengineering.com. You can visit us on LinkedIn. You can visit my profile or reach out to me personally, Ryan Livingston. My emails are livingston@hlreng.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being on this episode of Optics in Action. You've provided some great insights that I think, in terms of leadership and organizational structure and things like that, that are really important for business leaders to be thinking about. So thank you very much for being on this episode.
Thank you very much, Ryan. My pleasure.